As we are headed towards the 2022-2023 summer cropping season, we have decided to take a look at the 2022 grain marketing season. In episodes prior to this one, we looked at production and various factors that lead to yield maximization. We looked at soybean production, traditional grains, which include African peas, round nuts, which is Nimo sorghum, to mention but a few. Today, we are going to be looking at what the government has in store for its farmers, who are the primary producers if we look at the agricultural value chain. And as such, we have taken the liberty of having a diverse approach, a balanced approach, where we are going to be having the position of the government of Zimbabwe through the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, through Professor Obed Jiri, the Chief Director of Agricultural Extension Services, explaining the government policy, programs, and position on the grain marketing of this season. Some of the programs that he's going to be talking about include Pfumvudza, the Zundera Mambo, and even the Presidential Input Scheme to support our farmers in production. We also have the presence of the state-owned enterprise responsible for grain marketing here, Mr. Rocky Mutena, who's going to be taking us through the various nitty-gritties and how the policies in grain marketing are being implemented by this state enterprise. We also have the voice of the police, the Zimbabwe Republic Police, who's going to be explaining issues surrounding side marketing, movement of grain, controlled products, to mention but a few. At this point in time, we are going to cross over and listen to Professor Obed Jiri here, the Chief Director of Agricultural Extension Services in the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development. He is going to be taking us through the nitty-gritties of the grain marketing season this year and how it is going to be looking like and the various activities that are taking place at the various depots and receiving places of the grain here in Zimbabwe.
My name is Professor Obed Jiri. I'm the Chief Director for Agricultural and Rural Development Advisory Services in the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development. Let me start by talking about the grain marketing season that we are in, where we are expecting intakes of maize and other grains, soybean, and so forth. So in terms of maize, which is a more controlled crop, yes, we expect that farmers should be delivering to GMB and making sure that our strategic grain reserve is serviced. In terms of maize, we are basically saying that farmers should be able to have that sense of feeding the nation. Therefore, any delivery that is made to GMB or otherwise should be made in that effect. Payments, of course, from GMB are as outlined by the GMB. In terms of other grains, we expect farmers again to be delivering the same. And we have introduced in this past year, we have introduced a grain swap program where we are saying those farmers that have produced traditional grains, should they need maize, they just walk into their nearest GMB depot and have arrangements to swap and get maize for that purpose. So we have a grain swap program that was activated and that should be taken on board by the farmers. As the Directorate of Advisory Services, we are educating farmers on farming as a business. And this is the last bit of farming, which is the business sense, where farmers would get the returns to their investments in terms of time and other inputs. As we move on to the summer programming, I've talked a bit on the traditional grains. So we expect an uppage in production of traditional grains. And again, this will then, we expect that the grain swap arrangement will spur the production of traditional grains.
We also managed to speak to the state-owned enterprise, which is responsible for grain marketing here in Zimbabwe, so that we can understand the nitty-gritties and their relationship with our farming community, because they are the ones who are responsible for implementing the policies that would have been approved by Cabinet. Mr. Mtena, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm okay.
Thank you.
As we get into our discussion, Mr. Mtena, this is a state-owned enterprise, and there are calls from our government to support and enhance its efforts towards achieving Vision 2030, where we are talking of becoming an upper middle class economy by the year 2030. Can you maybe highlight your mandate as a state-owned enterprise?
We are actively participating in the whole agricultural value chain, starting with the inputs distribution and ensuring that there is orderly marketing of crops and ensuring that there's food security at every household. Those three wraps up our mandate.
As we move further into our discussion, Mr. Mutena, can you maybe highlight in terms of statistics at the moment, if you're privy to the information?
Yes. I must mention that this season was a very queer season. This time in September, we should have been tapping off receiving summer crops.
Okay.
But we are almost now getting to the peak of receiving summer crops. If I can tell you, right now we are receiving between 2,500 to 3,000 metric tons of maize per day.
Okay.
In September. This is funny.
Very indeed.
Yes. So we are almost at the peak of our
of our
season. But if I can tell you, we have so far received close to 200,000 metric tons of grain, right? 82% of that being maize.
Okay.
15% of that being traditional grains, and the balance, of course, shared amongst the various oilseed crops.
Okay.
Yes.
Looking at the trends and the activities, would you say you are happy? What are your sentiments looking at what is happening in the grain marketing season as we are progressing? You highlighted on the queerness of the season, given that we are at our peak and yet we are in September. We are headed towards going back to the fields, but we are now at the peak of deliveries.
Yeah, the season was not pleasing at all. It was a late season, and what we expected as a country is not what we are going to get. That's actually true.
Okay.
But that be as it may, we want to assure the nation that we've got enough grain in our strategic grain reserve to see us to the next harvest.
Okay.
Yes. We are receiving maize from farmers, but we are also seeing some side marketing taking place.
Okay.
Unscrupulous millers, maybe during the night or even during the day, enticing farmers to sell grain to them.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome back, viewers. We are here in the second segment of your program, Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. And today we are looking at the grain marketing season and the various activities that are taking place. We are here in Mashonaland West at Banket Depot, where we are looking at how farmers are getting paid and how the delivery systems are working. Now, viewers, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with the producer, Wadzanai Manyore, on 0772 807 506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also available on Twitter, and our Twitter handle there is at Agribusiness110. Make a follow-up on this episode and more on our YouTube channel, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are now in the second segment, Mr. Mutena. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mutena, you highlighted on a very pertinent issue that is cancerous in our industry, either in tobacco or in grain marketing, of side marketing.
Yes.
What is your position as a state-owned enterprise? What are the penalties that are present for those rent seekers makoronyera? What is your position and your sentiments in regards to that?
We've got what we call controlled products.
Okay.
Like maize, wheat, and soybeans. Those crops are governed by statutory instruments. Those must, by law, be delivered. The only exemption is where there has been some financial arrangement with a contractor.
Okay. At this point in time, we're going to be listening to the Zimbabwe Republic Police, who's going to be telling us and enlightening us on the issues surrounding side marketing. Because as you see and as you look at it as farmers, we might be committing offenses unknowingly, thinking that this is my grain, I can transport it to any place that I wish to. But you might find that you might be infringing or in violation of some regulations and rules in our country. Stay tuned.
The Zimbabwe Republic Police is a constitutional mandate in terms of the country's laws to ensure that all the laws, all the regulations put in place by the government are adhered to, are enforced without fear or favor. In this regard, the Zimbabwe Republic Police is enforcing the provisions of Statutory Instrument 145 of 2019, which clearly specifies that maize, which is a staple food in the country, has to be sold through the Grain Marketing Board. In this regard, since the onset of the selling season, the Zimbabwe Republic Police has been having joint operations with the Grain Marketing Board, and we have had joint roadblocks. We've had joint enforcement sites where we are monitoring the movement of grain from one area to another. So the police has had to effect arrest in coordination with the Grain Marketing Board of Zimbabwe, and we want to urge farmers to observe the law. We are also aware that there are people who are moving around in parts of the country, they're trying to take advantage of the presidential input scheme. We've had some arrests in the last 2-3 months, where some farmers were arrested in Chiredzi, some were arrested in Mat South, some in Harare, some in Mat Central. People who are moving around buying inputs from farmers would have accessed these under the free presidential input scheme. And I want to warn and tell farmers that it is a criminal offense for anyone to be doing so. So definitely the law will take its course, and we again appeal for cooperation. We also have the issue of soybeans, which again is controlled under the recently promulgated disaster instruments. And the police has been working together with the relevant authorities, the Grain Marketing Board, to ensure that no one is found to be transporting soybeans from one area to another without the necessary verification. And for those who would have been contracted by private players, as clearly articulated by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Water, Climate and Rural Settlement, they have to have confirmation. They have to have formal confirmation so that they are allowed to pass through police checkpoints. We also have the issue of the general side marketing of grains, and I want to appeal to farmers to comply with the law. Where there are people who are moving around and trying to lure them and try to negotiate with them outside the set parameters of the law, the farmers are implored to report so that the law can take its course. Thank you very much.
In the past, farmers have been disgruntled over issues surrounding payment. It could be delays in payment or inefficient modes of payment, all which resulted in the farmer not accessing his or her process on time. However, this 2022 grain marketing season, there has been some positive developments when it comes to farmer payment and accessing their process. We also did manage to talk to some farmers who highlighted that the reason why they end up going kumakoronyera and are participating in side marketing is because of issues surrounding payments, like I have highlighted earlier. They are saying that they need to have hard currency in their hands, or at least money deposited in their accounts, be it equal cash, to mention but a few. But at the end of the day, makoronyera would give them the money right upon delivery. However, this is an ill in our industry which needs to be addressed, and this is what we are also going to be talking about and listening to on how these issues are being handled and addressed. Stay tuned.
Has introduced what we call an offline payment system.
Okay.
We are paying from collection points and buying points out there in the rural areas, where we are saying farmers, you can aggregate your crop at a common place. When they bring their crop there, we go with our gadget.
Okay.
We capture the farmer details. Straight away, as we are capturing, we are sending the information to our server using the network. Straight to the server at head office, and the farmer is paid immediately into his bank account. Then we also introduced a farmer card, which operates just like any other bank card. It's a wallet. We put money into that wallet. It's unlimited money which we put into that wallet. You can use that card to pay your school fees, to pay your groceries through Swipe. That's the second platform, right? Then, of course, we use the farmer's bank card. So we are trying by all means to ensure that the farmer gets his money real time. Yes.
Now, Mr. Mtena, speaking of input distribution, which you highlighted as one of the activities that take place at our depots here, I would like us to talk about the Pfumvudzas, the Zundera Mambo. Can you maybe get into that so that our audience doesn't feel left out? I'm wanting this with commercial farmers who is to it all thing.
Right. Zundera Mambo, ndere madzishe, vana mambo. Makare kare kwainziko mambo ane dura rake rekuitira mhuri yake kana yaane nzara ndo mavanotora imomo vachipa mhuri dzavo dzinenge dzaane nzara. Saka mambo anopiwawo ma-inputs ezunde ramambo, 25 kgs dzeseed, 250 kgs dze-basal fertilizer, and 250 kgs the top dressing. Ndimambo. Then quite a headman. Anopiwo 20 kgs the seed. 200 kgs the basal fertilizer, and 200 kgs the top dressing. Sabuku anopiwo 10 kgs dzake dzembeu ne 2 kgs ne 2 bags dzake the fertilizer epasi ne 2 kg ne 2 bags dzake the fertilizer epamusoro. Kozoitawo ma-beneficiaries, ma-farmers agere mumisha umu. Imba yose inopfumbuka utsi ndiyo inonzi household inoqualifya kupiwa mbeu nemafertilizer epfumvudza, zvichienderana nokuti uri kupi. Nzvimbo dzinonaisa mvura sekuno unonge uchipiwawo 10 kg yako yechibage nesaga rako. In fact unopiwa 5 plots, right, dzechibage. Saka unopiwa mbeu yako nemafertilizer epasi nefertilizer epamusoro. Vari kunzvimbowo dzisinganyanye kunaya mvura zvakanyanya, tinokurudzira kurimwawo kwema-traditional grains, mapfunde, munga, zviyo. Unozopiwawo kambeu kako kaduku kechibage kuti uwane chokugocha. Asi uko tinenge chiti rimaichi ma-traditional grains. Kuno kunorimwawo kune mvura yakanaka and so on, tochirimawo zvakawandisa zvechibage, traditional grains achiitawo mashoma.
As we continue with the programming for Fumvudza, our model this season is basically that of a farmer field school per village, where we are teaching farmers in that farmer field school. So here is how they are organized. We are saying every traditional leader has a part to play, starting with the chief, the headman, and then the village head. So the chiefs around the country, the 276 of them, must lead this process where a farmer field school is done, or a Zunde Ramambo is done Pamambo, and they teach all their subjects, the tenets of Fumvudza, mulching, potholing, doing everything on time. Once the chiefs have done that, and indeed they are doing that, we expect the village heads to do the same. They do the Zundera Mambo per headman, and then after that, the village heads Masabuku, they do the Zundera Mambo at each and every of the 25,000 village heads. They do that Zundera Mambo at their homesteads. So that's a farmer field school per village, where they are teaching the tenets of Fumvudza. That will make sure that everyone is not left behind. All the households will be able to do the correct potholing, mulching, and indeed on time before inputs distribution. At the village heads, headmen, and the chiefs, we will also put a granary there, because the chiefs will get input package for 10 plots of Fumvudza. The headmen will get input package for 7 plots of Fumvudza, and the village heads will get inputs for 6 plots of Fumvudza, and then every household, beneficiary household, for 5 plots of Fumvudza. So we are saying that at the chief there will be a granary, and then at the headman there will be a granary, at the village head there will be a granary. So this is how we are programming this year. Already we have more than 2 million households that have been trained, and more than 2 million households as of today who have done potholing and mulching. So that's how we are programming for the summer season. So in terms of Fumvudza, we are saying this time around we are focusing on agroecological mapping, where we are saying farmers should be guided by their agroecological region on what to grow. So we have an inputs package, which we are saying for those natural regions which have high potential, they will receive bigger pockets of maize. For those natural ecological regions which have lower potential, they will receive smaller packages of maize seed. But it will then be the inverse, where we are saying those lower potential regions will receive bigger packaging of traditional grains, and the higher potential areas, they will receive a smaller packaging of traditional grains. This means that we will maximize on the potential of the area. That is what we are emphasizing. So maps showing our agroecological regions updated have been sent to all the provinces, and all our agriculture extension officers, they are aware, and so farmers are also aware of where they are situated in terms of agroecological region.
There you heard it, viewers. We're looking at the grain marketing season, the 2022 grain marketing season here in Zimbabwe, where our farmers are being rewarded and are being paid for their grains that they are delivering for the food security sufficiency of our country. From me, your host, Wadzanai Manyore, I'm also on Instagram, it's W Manyore, and the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.